All right.
Hello, Madam Chair.
Oh, hi, Councilmember Waring.
It's nice to come on the front end of the meeting instead of in the middle of the end.
Just happy you're here. All right. If everyone wants to get started, I know we have a busy evening ahead of us, right?
All right.
Good to go, Brittany?
Yes, you're good to go.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I will call today, Tuesday, July 16th, 2024, Recreation Committee meeting to order. If we can just have a brief moment of silence and obviously just keep our country and our close friend Boyd Gregg in our thoughts and prayers for a moment of silence. All right. Amen. Thank you. All right.
All right.
Mr.
Parker, just wanted to also let everybody know that Chief Walker's father passed away last night as well. So anyway, should have said that before the prayer, but wanted to let everyone know.
Well, we will say a prayer for him. Absolutely. Ugh. All right. Do I have a motion to approve the June 13th, 2024 minutes?
Move for
So
approval.
move. Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Public participation, Brittany, did anyone send in a comment or sign up to speak?
I'm not aware. Wanda, do you know if anybody has signed up?
No one signed up.
Okay, thank you, ladies. All right, moving on to item 4. I'm not sure who's going to take these. Is Mr. Kronsberg on?
I will take them on behalf of the Parks Department.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. And I don't know if you just want to take 4A, B, and C together just for some brief updates that folks requested.
Sure. The update for the Muni Golf Course, this is out for bid with a mandatory pre-bid on July 30th. Bid openings August 15th. The earliest council meeting we could get to would be September 10th, and the construction is going to be approximately 90 days. Fort Pemberton, permitting is nearly complete with the submittal for July 29th and expecting TRC approval somewhere around August 15th. We'll be going to City Council for the contract approval October 22nd with a notice to proceed the first week in November. And project completion should be May of 2025 pending weather. And last, the WPAL construction documents for this park is approximately 85% complete. It will be going to DRC for review in August. I'm not sure what those dates are necessarily, but the first availability that we can get. And it will be going to the 3rd review at TRC in September.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Brownwood. All right, does anyone have any questions, comments?
Yeah.
I don't see any.
Yeah, I do.
Councilmember Shealy?
Yeah, just wanted to ask Ms. Brownlee, there's no possibility of being able to move forward with the bathroom stuff for the August meeting. Is that right? I mean, it would just be completely impossible, or is there any way we could push it where it could be done in August?
We normally have to bid out about 3 weeks to get interested parties. So it's already out for bid right now.
Right.
The only thing may be able to squeeze in the mandatory pre-bid a little bit earlier, but procurement requires that we have about 10 working days between the last questions and bid opening in case there are anything that may change those bids and those costs.
Okay.
But the council on September would be the very earliest since there's only one CPR meeting in August.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Well, thank you.
Of course.
But that is still putting us, I think previously for a November completion with that timeline.
With council being September 10th, normally we would wait about a week until we receive those contracts signed. And if it's a 90-day construction, that would probably be putting us in December.
Okay, okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions?
Oh, yeah, this Councilman Waring,
All right.
can we see I haven't even seen the plans for Pemberton. Is there any way we can, not today, but I mean, take a look at, or something to be pushed out email on what's contemplated to be built there?
I
Yeah,
can
let's
share that
circulate it.
information.
Sure, and you don't have, I mean, I know it's too quick, but you don't have anything you can share right now, do you?
Since that one is not my project, I don't have anything readily available, but while we
Okay.
are on this call, I can start pulling and see if I can track something down to share.
Okay, thanks. And you'll send it to this committee either way and council.
Correct. Yes,
Okay, thank you so much.
of course.
Madam
Thank
Chair.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilmember Shealy?
Yeah, just wanted to ask Ms. Brownlee if there's anything she can send on WPAL while she's sending that, if that's possible. I know you said it's only 85%, I think, complete, but
Of course. Yeah.
okay.
We can start pulling that information right now. And if we are still on the call while I'm pulling it, we can do a quick screen share for y'all, and I will still send the documents to everyone.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.
That'd be great.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I know, I'd appreciate that too. Thank you guys for bringing it up, because I think our constituents would appreciate it too, because I think it's been, I mean, Councilmember Shealy, you've been working on Pemberton for a while, and I remember seeing it initially, but yeah, I can't see it now, the renderings. All right, well, thank you. It's probably you again, Ms. Brownlee, but moving on to new business.
I don't have
Discussion.
number one, so that may be Laurie.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Miss Yarborough. And I'm not sure if Councilmember McBride, oh, he is here. So I don't know if Councilmember McBride or Miss Yarborough, who wants to go first?
I can just,
Yeah, Councilmember McBride, why don't you go ahead and share your comments?
yeah, just
Okay.
kick it off. Again, being kind of the new guy here and seeing what's put out by the city. I think the answer to what I'm going to bring up is lack of infrastructure, which we're working on. It's a long-term solution. But when the city puts out their summer City of Charleston fall youth sports and the summer sports programs, again, West Ashley has, I don't know, seven or eight different programs. The Peninsula has 6. James Allen has about 6 or 7. Daniel Allen has about 7. And then Johns Allen has 1. And I know there's right now a lack of facilities, and we're working on that and investments, and there has been forethought put into that, and we're just way behind and we're trying to catch up. I get all that. And it's just soccer. And I just wonder what can we do until we get, start building a recreation center on Johns Island in a couple of years or whenever that's going to start. What can we do in the meantime to increase the number of programs in the summer and the fall for Johns Island specifically? Not just because it's Johns Island, but when parents have to take their kids off of Johns Island, which a lot of them already do, to go to an elementary school on James Island because the elementary school's overcrowded and one's being built. It just adds to the traffic. It makes it harder on the parents who are trying to work, and they got to take care of their kids during the summer and in the fall. So is there something we can do to increase the number of programs on Johns Island, whether that's partnering with CCSD, partnering with some private organizations, because there's a lot of, summer ball, or what's it called? Travel ball and the Bigger Island Little League. I just want to bring up the discussion and kind of find out why we're in this situation, if it's beyond what I'm saying, and if there's anything we can do to kind of brainstorm our way out of this thing.
I'm happy to take a first stab at this, Councilman McBride. You're correct. It's totally related to infrastructure. If we don't have fields and courts and buildings to program in, then it's very difficult to carry out daily programming. We've identified a couple of moms on Johns Island that promised to work with us during the registration period for soccer. So we are trying rec soccer right now. I think we're going to have enough for them to have a couple of options with their program, whether that's the older kids play and leave the island for Saturday games. The younger kids play all on the island. But the only soccer field I have is right there at Johns Island Park, which if you've been through that park, sir, you realize half of it is closed off for construction for CCSD's project. The soccer field has no lights, so I can't use, as the days start getting shorter in September and October, I have no lights there on that field. It's not in great shape, but we are going to try to run a soccer program out of there. The baseball fields that I have access to program on are under construction, so I can't offer anything this fall. We are working with the Barrier Island Little League and helping promote anybody on Johns Island that has children that wants to play fall ball, baseball, or softball to go to that program. So we are doing that. Basketball is typically not something we offer except for the little kids in the fall. We have already reached out to both Hot Gap and St. John's on Johns Island in particular. We've also reached out to the middle schools in West Ashley and on James Island, asking for use in the fall and the winter of their gymnasiums. We've not gotten a response back, but those letters and request and permit request have already gone into CCSD. So we're waiting to hear back from them. They typically have to talk to their principals, their schools, see what's going on, if they have the ability for the city to use those courts when they're not being used. So in lieu of having another active park that we can schedule and do things on, the only thing I can do is really work with the school district. I mean, all Johns Island folks are city residents. They can go to James Island or West Ashley or downtown or Daniel Island or wherever they want to take part in any city program. We want them to, but I understand that's hard for families. I understand that it causes bigger traffic problems on Johns Island. That's not the solution. The solution is to have programs in place so that we don't put cars on the road at 5:30. But I know that you all will be talking at this council meeting about the bond referendum and that money coming through in 25. I'm telling you that I'm hoping that at the very top of the project list will be the Johns Island Community Center, and what that will do, because right now I have no dedicated staff for Johns Island. Staff comes with buildings, and I have no buildings or fields, so there's nothing there. So the faster we get that snowball running, the better. I put in requests for some additional seasonal staff in the summer months. We will be asking the school district in December for use of school gyms for the summer months. I know you all were very interested in that earlier, and I know that's one place on Johns Island that would help if we could get access to it. So we'll be asking for both Hot Gap and St. John's to use gym spaces in the summer. I can't put that request in until December. So that's the kind of planning and thought I'm going with right now. I'm happy to take on other ideas or other contacts if you have them and can direct me to them. But with the resources we have out on Johns Island right now, that's really all I can do.
What if, just brainstorming here, what if the mayor's office invited some CCSD reps or something, to City Hall to kind of bridge those communication gaps? Because I heard you said you sent letters out and they're not responding.
Well,
So maybe
let me just say
bridge.
this: the school hadn't started back. So for me,
Right.
I sent the permit request in at the earliest possible date I could. They will be sitting there waiting as school administration comes back into school and they're looking at their calendar. They do the same thing we do. They look and see how many students they have, what programs they have, who's signed up for what, and then they make their scheduling. So we've already asked. We're the first to ask. We have a joint use agreement. I've already put those out there, and it's really a school to school thing. We have a joint use agreement, and I know the mayor's office would be happy to reach out. It becomes a function of each school though in their own scheduling. So we've done the steps that they've asked us to do. We have a partner over at CCSD that we're supposed to work with for community use like that in after hours, and we're working directly with them. So I feel like we're doing all of those things. And I don't think it's a communication gap. It's simply a scheduling, the way schedules work.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
Ms. Yarborough, what about, I think the county, it's probably primary aquarium, but the county has a lot of fields out there, on that road. I forget the road that parallels Kiowa River. Bunch of fields out there. I'm just wondering whether we can, and they've got some bleachers, little small bleachers out there. Would there be a possible, maybe partnership with the county until we get some, till that bond gets passed and we get some money flowing over on Johns Island?
I can reach out.
You know the area. You know the area I'm talking about.
Well, I know I mean, Mullet Hall is the only facility that, yes,
Right.
that I know of. I don't know that they have athletic fields. They've got big aerial fields, but I can reach out and see if there's any opportunities there. I'm happy to. I've got great connections over at PRC. So I'm happy to reach out and ask on that behalf of that as well.
Okay,
And
thank you.
maybe even ask if, not to chime in here, but just since this is a temporary, I mean, could we lease the fields? I mean, I think some of these folks just want a place to practice, want a place to, I mean, we don't have to have build it and they will come type stuff, but you know, we're looking at building our own facility and hopefully pretty short order. It's a priority on the Parks and Rec bond. So you know, maybe it's something we can consider for next year's budget.
Yeah, I think you read my mind, Mr. Mayor. I mean, ultimately, I have a unique perspective. I mean, the practicing, you know, I certainly feel that the practicing after school, after work for parents, I think that's where the crunch is. Saturday games, you know, I don't think people, you know, going off the island, going to a game, but so yeah, if there's just open fields, you know, if we can find the space, whether we lease it from the school and we line it, you know, very similar to what we're already doing on some of our parks. If we are able to line those fields, I think just like the mayor said, I think people just want a place to be able to practice. I think what I see a lot over here on James Island, and you know, Mrs. Yarborough, is everybody wants their kids to sort of grow up through, you know, together through our football program over here does a great job, as you know. So they just want to keep, so let me get to this. Is there a way your Johns Island residents, when they register, are you able to like capture them and see how many you have, and then that way possibly look at what kind of field usage you'd need, and maybe if we can find space on a school field? I think like Councilmember Waring said, you know, Councilmember Waring over here, Gresham Megget, I mean, they have some great field space. That's all CCSD. And those are fields that I certainly think are being underutilized, you know, and they just need a little TLC. So if we can offer that support, or is there a way to do that? Lori, it sounds like you're already working on a lot of this.
We can certainly capture Johns Island residents from Rec Track, whoever's signed up, and do that. So we know the ones that are already signed up right now for soccer, because we have been working with some parents that came in and said we want to do something. So we're working really with those parents, and we feel like we're going to be successful with that. But yes, we could pull data and see who's from Johns Island and try to get some more access. It just then becomes those fields and what kind of condition they're in and things like that. But I'm happy to go down that rabbit hole and see what I can find. It certainly is safer when we put children on fields that have been set up to be a ball field, where there's not holes and it's not, you know, pasture ground. It's actually kind of leveled, and it, you know, no ankle busters and things like that. So I just need to see what's available and what's out there. We did reach out to all the middle schools that we knew had fields. The problem with the high schools is that we just can't get on them. The high school between JV and varsity, you just can't get on them. Those are very well maintained, but we've reached out to all the middle schools trying to jump on it there. And I can look and see where we got with Johns Island residents and see what we could do. And I'll reach out to PRC as well.
Okay. And do you think, adding on to that, do you think that reaching out, you know, this council, whether collectively, you know, as a resolution or just separately, reaching out to school board members and just getting them, I know you're saying it's not a communication, it's just a timing issue. Is there anything that we can do on that end? Would you like, I'm happy to reach out.
I feel like the school district and the city work really well together. I honestly don't think there's a problem there. There's a finite amount of space, and we all are fighting for it between the hours of 5 and 7. And when I say
Gotcha.
fight, I don't really mean fight, but everybody's trying to do it at the same time. All the parents want to get home in time. That's when high school kids are staying after school and they're on the fields. It just becomes a matter of everybody's trying to get used at the exact same time for fields that have lights. And that's what happens in the fall hours, because the days will start really dropping off after August and getting really short. So I don't think it's a problem there. I mean, it would be great if we had more fields, if CCSD had more fields and the city had more fields, and we could always share them. And so there was never a time that they weren't being used and somebody was always having access to them. But I feel like the communication is there.
Okay. Okay. Just a quick follow-up. Councilmember McBride, do you feel that it's just sports, or because when you say programming, some things popped up. I mean, Angel Oak, obviously we have a lot of great things going on over there, and maybe that's something that can be thought of for 25, especially summer. Miss Yarborough and Councilmember McBride, if that's something people want, maybe Angel Oak is somewhere we could offer some, like we do at the James Allen Rec Center, little weekly camps, programs. Is that the kind of programming do you feel that Johns Island is looking for as well?
I really think, I mean, people reach out to me all the time. The number one issue in Johns Island's traffic. Number two issue is parks and recreation. Like literally, those are the two issues that come up all the time. I think parents just want something to do. I mean, obviously, if their child is already, an athlete in baseball or whatever, they're going to want to continue to do that. But a lot of parents just want something to do to put their kids in that's productive. So I think thinking outside the box, I was just looking at the Google Maps, Lori, when you brought up the Johns Island County Park, which is a beautiful park, by the way. They have an equestrian center there. No idea, if we would be able to do a co-use with them, if that's open to the public. I don't have knowledge on that, but just thinking outside the box to just come up with some programs, whether it's a co-use between the city and the county, or co-use between the city and CCSD, or leasing something like someone brought up. Just really thinking outside the box, and by next year having some some really good options for parents on the island would be really awesome.
Agreed.
Madam Chairman.
Councilmember Gregory.
Yes, going back to Councilmember Waring's suggestion and piggybacking on the mayor's suggestion in terms of leasing land. To me, if the county has land and county residents have a need, that we shouldn't have to necessarily rent anything. Why don't we just ask them for the land to assist in providing services to county residents? To me, and I think that could be a conversation between the mayor and the chairman of county council, our county council administrator, just to see whether or not, whether we use it temporarily, whether they say we'll sell it to you, however, I'm just saying, while we are a city, we're in a county, and I think the county also has a responsibility to make sure that we have the kinds of services, recreation, and otherwise to serve their constituents. That's just something I'd like to throw on the table, because it seems like it might be a pretty quick fix in terms of getting the land. And then, of course, through parks and recreation, we can take whatever money we were talking about to rent the land to get the land so that it can accommodate some of our needs. Just throwing that out there. But to me, if the county has land and we have a need, that's how we need, at least that's how I would approach it.
Agreed. Thank you, Councilmember Gregory. And I think Councilmember McBride and I have had this conversation. I love Mullet Hall, and that's owned by the county. And from what I understand, there's no playground. I mean, I've been to every playground, I think, in this city. I don't think there isn't, Johns Island, and Councilmember McBride, you and I talked about this. I mean, I hate to throw Councilmember Boykin out there, but I mean, a playground at Mullet Hall, if your constituents and county residents can advocate for that, I mean, I think that would be a huge help on Johns Island. I know that's nothing that we can solve here in this committee, but I certainly can advocate for that, you know, with county council members. If that's something that you feel would help as
Yeah.
well.
100%.
Yeah, I think, if I may,
Yeah.
you all make a great point, and particularly Councilman Gregory. And just for clarification, when I was saying my recommendation on leasing was not to lease it from the county, but if we couldn't get CCSD land or county land as a last resort, there are private property out there that could potentially be rented as a stopgap measure for a year. Again, for practice. But Lori makes a good point on terms of the condition. But, you know, the point is that the need is extreme and real. And Councilman McBride makes a great point. It sounds like we're all in agreement that we need to get creative and aggressive about figuring out how to address the pent up demand for supply of fields out on Johns Island.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Madam Chair, I got one additional point on this one. I heard Ms. Yarborough loud and clear where the field that the city does have, you know, when the days get short, obviously it'll be getting dark. What does it take for us to get some lights out there? If we can't get temporary lights, you know, the one that run by the generators, why don't we get some appropriations out there to get some permanent lights out there? Ms. Yarborough, has there been a request for lighting out there? Why don't we have lights out there?
Yes, sir. There have been requests out there for Johns Island Park multipurpose field to have lights. It's not been funded. We have been working over the last 12 months with CCSD and trying to we're getting brand new lights on the baseball, softball fields, and they're going to be putting in irrigation and redoing those fields and fencing. So part of that would be hopefully a phase 2, which would get us lights on that multipurpose field to do some things. But that money is the great opener of all doors. Once we're funded in some areas, we can certainly do more.
Lights is something that we should be able to scrape up some money. We can pass that.
Councilmember Waring, I was thinking the same thing, but when Lori mentioned the staffing, I think in my head that would be the most difficult part, right, Lori? Even if we could get temporary lights, because the youth soccer club did that over here, you would need staff to turn them on and off, correct?
Unless they were on a timer system, and those are usually the in-ground kind. I mean, that's really a question that Jason would be better suited to answer, because those kind of electrical needs and all the things that have to happen when you do that all need to come in at once. But I know that we've been working with CCSD, trying to get them to light as much of that park as they would, given that they were going to benefit so much from having access to the ball field, the baseball and softball fields being redone. So I know that's been a primary interest point. We tried to get them to pay for that funding, and they wouldn't pay for the multipurpose field because they said they weren't going to be using it. So.
Okay.
Madam Chairman.
Councilmember Gregg.
And then I'm done with it. I think that the difference here is Councilman McBride. And why I say that is when I was running for mayor back in 2007, 8, whenever, okay, and we were over there on Johns Island, the biggest issue they had was what we're discussing today, needing a park facility, wanting a swimming pool that the city had promised to Johns Island many, many years ago. And I'm saying all that to say is I think that you're going to make the difference, Councilman Member McBride, because none of these are new issues. But I don't want us to just talk about it. You know, I would like for someone to approach the county, okay, and see whether or not they have any land over there, okay, that we could use. Okay, I don't want to sleep it. Okay.
I appreciate that.
Okay. Yeah. And that could be simply your rapport with your county person. Okay. Yeah. To start that dialogue, to see whether or not they have anything over there that we can use for our children. I'm done.
No, I appreciate that a lot. Yeah, I definitely resoundingly agree with that. I don't want to just talk about it. I actually want to start getting some more tangible improvements. And again, not to take away from the forethought that's been put into the land that's been bought for eventual expansion and all that. but I definitely know people want to start seeing some tangible things. And then just really quick, I'll say that County Councilman Joe Boykin is in the next few weeks going to meet with the mayor and his staff about another topic. So this can be added to the plate really quick, just to kind of, pin him down on having him get back to us on what the county can do as far as parks.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Councilmember McBride. Great discussion. More to come.
We've got, I believe Liz Deek has a question or.
Oh, I apologize, Ms. Deek.
I would say very briefly, we did have some initial conversations with CCSD, and they run their Kaleidoscope Camp program for K through 5th grade out at Angel Oak Elementary and at Mount Zion. And so that's something I just sent you that schedule, Councilmember McBride, just so you would have that as an option for your folks. So they have it kind of programmed out at most of or at a lot of their schools, their elementary and middle schools. But again, I think this is a great conversation. It's something we're all trying to work towards to kind of get more opportunities and options out there for these kids. So that's just a great resource for you.
One more quick thought that you just made me think of really quick is there's different, so we have multiple layers of government. We all know we wrestle with that all the time. That's a great example, Ms. Deek, about, the city and the county and CCSD coordinating when we advertise programs for regions of Charleston, rather than the city just talking about city programs in a social media thing, and then the county or the CCSD doing their own thing. We all serve the same constituents. If we were coordinating our messaging in the CCSD and the city and county better, I think more parents would have more options, can look at one document or one social media post or whatever and see all the options that are available to them. So that's just something I just thought of.
I agree. And if we can figure that out for James Island as well, the town, the city, and the county would appreciate it. No, I agree. There, as a parent, you're always going to different places and trying to find different things. But all right, well, thank you, everyone. If there's nothing else, we'll move on to 5B regarding the ordinance to raise funds for what we have just been discussing. I'm not sure who's taking that one. Miss Copeland?
Or Amy?
Miss Creech?
I think it would actually be our CFO.
Okay, Miss Horton.
Sorry,
I
Amy.
wasn't sure who was taking lead. So this would, as we discussed last year around the time of the referendum, increasing millage for the Parks and Rec bond. This would be to implement that for our 2024 tax bill, so that it would enable us to do a borrowing next year. Any questions on that?
Maybe not a question so much as a statement. I think most of us understand, what this is for and we already did the referendum, and this is just sort of it has to be done. Is there a deadline on this?
Yes, so we would have to give you mean in terms of the millage? Yes,
yeah.
the millage. So
okay.
We would have to have this passed by City Council at our August meeting, hence reason why we need 2 readings. So that's why July and August, so that we could give our millage to the county in September, because we always give them our millage in early September once they give us our assessments. So there is a deadline for that.
Okay, and I assumed, but I just want to make this comment, and Mr. Mayor, because I know that we changed some of our rules regarding committee items and then getting them onto council. This is certainly one. I feel like, our committee is on a Tuesday at 2:00, probably because of summer schedule. And then it's on for first reading tonight, I believe, for city council. So I just want to clarify, we know that this needs to be done and there's a deadline, but I just want to, this is kind of why I've been asking for the whole year, like next step, just so everyone can digest it. Is there a reason it came now and not earlier? Because again, I'm just going off of the new rules that were passed and how we're sort of doing things now.
Yeah, I suppose to your point, it could have been on earlier. We were looking at at other opportunities. but the reality of it is, you know, to be honest with you, I didn't, because this was already approved, I thought this was just more of a housekeeping item versus something for a lot of debate, because it was clearly articulated by the voters that they want this. So to me, it's a little bit more of a formality. And we also wanted to see if we had some money in the budget for this year to start the process on schematic design for these priorities that were lined out, including the Johns Island Rec Center and Aquatic Center. So it looks like we are going to have some funds to do that. And again, we won't know. I don't want to get Amy too nervous, but I think we will have some funds to start the design process. So when the bond, when 25 hits, we can move forward and we don't have to start the design then. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And if I have a follow-up, but if anyone else wants to jump in first, I don't see any hands. So can you, okay, Ms. Wharton, can you explain what this will generate? Can you explain, I mean, this is obviously my first time, so can you explain what this will generate, how much, how long?
So we had talked about 70 million in the bond referendum. So we can do it one of two ways. You do it all one borrowing at the beginning, at the very front, but I don't think that's the best way for us to do that, or do two different borrowings. We kind of planned it out so that we would do a $40 million borrowing up front, and then a few years later do the remaining, because just capacity of doing projects probably wouldn't make sense for us to do the whole 70 million. And then that would also allow us a little bit probably of extra revenue to do some pay as you go projects as well, outside of the borrowing.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions?
I do,
Councilmember Ware?
Ms. Wharton, what would it take for us? I hear you not having the capacity. So, we maybe do it in $40 million tranches, but what would it take for us to have that capacity? I look at, what North Charleston did with Park Circle and Danny Jones, Aquatic Center. And I understand that's another city, but we certainly can learn from that process. By the time we do 40 million, wait, another 3 years, and then, do it again. Obviously we got interest rate risk, and we also got inflation. And man, inflation on the other side of COVID has been a beast on these projects. Just trying to get more bang for the buck that we do have.
Yeah. So we talked about that, Councilman Waring, in terms of hiring more project managers. And one thing I'll say, and it's not an excuse in any way, but our capital improvement plan is much larger than most other cities. So that kind of puts us at a disadvantage because we already have so many projects going on. So that's one of the things, but we could borrow the full entire amount. As long as we have a good plan to do that, we can spend that money down, because there's arbitrage rules, and I won't bore everybody with that type of thing, where you're not spending a bond quick enough, then we kind of get in trouble for that. So that was another reason for that as well. But we have been talking about having dedicated project managers for these projects so that they can move forward quicker.
Yeah, and I can echo there, Councilman Waring. It's imperative that we're organized about this. A couple things on the two-tiered borrowing. I hear you. I also don't want to pay interest if we're not if we're not spending the money, and it is going to be drawn down over at least a couple of years. So there's a lot of financial logic to delaying. The other component, back to Ms. Morton's point, that we need more capacity in terms of our capital projects department. We need more staff. And so one of the things that we're going to hopefully include in all of our contracts for this work, and really I'm hoping all capital projects moving forward, is a line item in the RFP for whoever's responding to this, that they fund a PM on our side, so that we already have third-party construction managers, but we need staff to maintain and, watch over this stuff pretty closely. And I think that'll save us an exorbitant amount of money in future change orders, delays, and that sort of things that have typically plagued municipalities and government entities when they get involved in large capital projects.
Well, listen, Mr. Mayor, I agree with you 100% on borrowing the whole thing and paying interest and it's not being spent on actual construction. That's why I was looking at the capacity of just doing more projects, obviously project managers, because on the other side, 526, $700 million project to start with. Now it's 2.2, 2.4 billion because of delays. Anyway, just trying to get the most bang for the 70 million. That's
I hear you. You're absolutely. Economies of scale too.
Yeah, because that 70 million won't be worth 70 million in what, 6 years. So that's what I'm with you on that.
Okay.
Well, sorry, Chairman Parker. I do want to press to this committee though. Once we do this, kind of the lights turning green, and it's incumbent on us to consolidate around what has been approved or outlined in this by voters, and to get organized and start the design process as expeditiously as possible. So I know you all are going to want to be involved in that process, and I can tell you that we're going to be pressing the gas once we get this green light.
All right, great. Just that, the gear yard was 142. And when we got rolling on that, we rolled. Fortunately, inflation didn't roll. Let's put it like that. So, thanks. So we got the ability. We need a few more people. That's all.
And that would be my last question, Ms. Wharton. So after this, will we come back and talk again about, is that already the plan, 40 million now, 30 million later, or is that going to be a discussion later on?
That's a discussion. That's not, I'm just giving those as examples of what we could do, but that's not necessarily what we have to do.
Okay, perfect. And then I know it's a little off topic, but just on something what you said, Mr. Mayor, what would you like to see from this committee? I certainly, I'm taking your lead. How quickly, is there something you want us to do in order to prioritize those items? Is it something?
I think in September, just it's going to take a little bit of time. We want to make sure we get through the second reading. But I think in September, probably the second meeting in September, for this committee, we would look to present a targeted plan and timeline for these objectives. And we need to start the RF process for the design. And we need to start getting those out quickly. Like I say, it looks like we will have confirmation by probably the end of August that we have, what kind of funds we might have to go towards front loading that could be reimbursed. So I think we'll be organized enough to come to this committee and have a discussion on what that schedule is and get the specifics. And is it 42 million? Is it 50 million? Is it 33 million? That would be the first borrowing that we'd be looking to do right at the turn of the year.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. That's great news. I'm sure we're all excited for it. So thank you. Okay, any other questions, comments? All right, moving on. We have items 5, C, D, and E. These are all sort of updates or questions. Is someone taking those all together? I'll let you run through them or individually.
So I don't have much on item C, and I wasn't quite sure what the question was for this new business, but I can try to help answer any questions that y'all may have.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Brownlee. And is there anyone from CPD here? I don't see anyone. No. All right, I think that was the hope, is maybe someone from CPD, Councilmember Shealy.
Yeah.
Can you maybe on that one? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman. I appreciate it. I asked for the safety in and around West Ashley Park to be brought up because just recently we've had some neighbors. We got communities all around West Ashley Park, such as Forest Lakes and Battery, Gilliard, Church Creek subdivision, Providence Commons and the apartments right there, Cypress Cove apartments. But recently we've had people questioning what's going on the parks, particularly at dusk or even into the evening. Ms. Yarborough has done a great job of helping me make sure that the gates are locked up there now at dusk. We have a gate at West Ashley Park that is supposed to be open during daylight hours, but when the sun sets in the summertime, it's supposed to be closed and locked. I think overall West Ashley is a safe park. I'm in that park a good bit. But we have had our incidences recently. I think some of you may remember last fall, that park had to be evacuated. We blew horns and had people evacuated because of an incident that happened over in the woods. West Ashley's a unique park in that there's a lot of wooded space there around, and a lot of marshy area, a lot of spaces around the lake and everything. And I think it's starting to become a concern of the community around the park. But in those wooded areas, it's dark. And we've had this discussion at this committee in the past that we were going to put some lights up back there. So I guess, one of the, for safety reasons, and because of that incident that happened last fall, let me go back and say that in that incident, we didn't know at the time, but the kids that were playing on the park, and it was probably 1,000 kids that night out there on the park that night, they were not in any immediate danger, but we didn't know it at the time. And that's why Stacy Collins and her team had everybody evacuate and leave the park immediately. But some things were happening over in the wooded area. We had said in this committee, I believe, that we were going to have some better lighting at West Ashley Park, and I'm not sure where that went or what happened to that. And I guess the other thing is we've got this gate that is supposed to be, I think, be able to be controlled remotely. It's just not set up to do that right now, from what I can see and what I understand. I know we do that at Dimitri Park. The gate will close automatically. I guess my question is, can we move forward with better lighting at West Ashley Park now? And can we move forward to have that gate where it will, where it'll be automatic, where at dusk that gate closes? We've got signage up there that says, if you're locked in this park, call Charleston Police Department and they'll come get you out. But I'm not sure that every night that gate is being locked at every time. And like I said, Ms. Yarborough's helped me a bunch just recently in this last week, and it's helped me with that, and I appreciate that help. And we're checking to make sure that that gate gets closed and is locked up, particularly in the summertime when we don't have a lot of activity going on at that park as far as organized sports and things. So I guess those are my questions. I'm not sure who to direct those to, but I wanted to check on that.
So I have received some information that we do have a proposal from Dominion for lighting.
Okay.
And that should be in the 2025 budget request from Parks Operations this year.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Okay, so that is good news. I appreciate that. Okay.
May I make a comment, Councilmember Shealy?
Sure.
Just knowing that Team 5 is their office.
Team 4, yeah.
Team 4, sorry.
Is on Mariator there.
Team 4 is right there. Do you, until then, certainly they may be able to have access. Could they maybe up the patrols, just driving through, shining the lights in those woods? I certainly, as a parent, as a constituent, I always think that just can go a long way, just to kind of keep bad things from happening, just that increase in presence. But yeah, it's just a thought until the 25 budget request happens.
Yeah, Lieutenant Wojo and I have had a discussion on that, and he's keeping an eye out. We're fortunate in that we've got some police officers that live West Ashley and some that work West Ashley that have kids on that park that also put extra eyes out there for us. We got a couple of them that coach out there, which is really a big perk for us. So so yeah, Team 4 and Lieutenant Wojo and some others are helping us with that. So
Okay, good. Well, I hope that helps. Unless there's another question or.
well, I guess my other question is it possible, or did that gate ever work automatically? I mean, it looks like there's a keypad that used to be there that's not there. It's just wires sticking out. That looks like you could punch in a code, or you could do something at that site with that gate where you could open and close it. And I think it looks like it's one of those gates that could be remotely controlled, but I'm not sure about that. But I know we have one at Dimitri Park. Could we have that at West Ashley Park?
Okay, so I think I don't see anybody jumping in, but so I see what you're saying. So the gate sometimes is just not locked.
And I'm making that assumption from when neighbors are saying they're hearing and seeing things over at West Ashley Park. Now, we don't have any programs going on in the summer really, but yeah, that's what I'm hearing from.
Councilmember Parker, this is Lori. We do have a person that's assigned to lock that gate in the evenings. The Parks Department has a crew that's assigned to report to West Ashley Park every day, Monday through Friday. So they actually open the gate early in the morning when they report. And then we do the locking of it in the evenings as well as the opening and the closing on the weekends. The human side of this is I came through and locked it at 8:30. The next night I locked it at 8:45. The next night I locked it at 9. So we've tried to get that employee on that set schedule. We did have a problem with one of the early morning openings. But yes, that park is prone to having some nefarious activities that happen around it. It would be great to have additional lights. It would be great to have a lock that was locked without human error, that could be programmed and locked that way. I think those would all be technology things that we should all be working for.
Okay. All right. Well, Ms. Councilmember Gregory.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if we can at some point, I have another meeting coming up, transportation, and I think you do too.
I do.
And is there some way for us to do these meetings so that they don't start butting heads? Because I mean, we're having very, very good discussions here. And I think that's necessary. But now I'm getting crunched, okay? Because I've got transportation in a little while and a presentation on this, and I haven't even dressed for a council meeting.
I know.
And some of us have to drive all the way from Johns Island.
That's my point. I think that Mr. Mayor, somehow we need to synchronize things a little differently so they can accommodate some of the issues that we have, travel, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. And again, we're learning as we go. In particular, the meetings where we're back to back in terms of the summer meetings where we're doubling up. So understood, and we'll work to make adjustments and appreciate the point.
And Councilmember Gregory, not to Councilmember Shealy, but I know Councilmember Gregory had requested an item. Did you want to touch on that real quick before you had to leave?
Could I?
Please.
I appreciate it. Yes,
we can come back if that's okay with you.
No, I'm good. Go ahead.
Okay.
I have two items, the Long Barrow Dock and Hampton Park. Mr. Mayor, you're going to be meeting with Wagner Terrace president, I think on the 31st at 7:30. And I think he's looking forward to that meeting because he does have some issues. And one of them will be the Long Barrow Dock. It appears to me, I went to a neighborhood meeting last night. Wagner Terrace now wants to get a bit more proactive with regard to finalizing things on the Long Barrow Dock. Right now, they're sneaking their children in, okay, because there's a big private sign. It's our only access at this point to the water, okay? So they're sneaking their kids in. And historically, People who go there have been intimidated by Longbar residents. This has been going on now for almost, I'd say, 10 years or so. And most of the people that normally would go there, they have been intimidated to the point where they don't even bother, especially African Americans in particular, who would crab and use the space. So I'm saying all this to say, Mr. Mayor, is there will be a letter coming from Wagner Terrace talking about us making a decision on Longborough. Because Longborough will not be the only persons using that park. A portion of it will be public. The public is ready to start using the park and not feel intimidated at all. So just be prepared for that discussion. And they will be sending, I think, a letter to either me or to you saying it's time for us to make a decision on Longborough. Okay. They wanted to meet with Longborough Association. I told them absolutely not. I don't think that would be a good idea to bring it to us to try to move it along. Okay.
Fair enough. Absolutely.
Okay. On Hampton Park, another sort of ongoing issue with Hampton Park in terms of the entrance looks blighted, literally looks like a blighted area because of the overgrowth on Cleveland. No one uses that side of the street because of the overgrowth. There have been complaints coming from Hampton Park, coming from Hampton Park Terrace, coming from Wagner Terrace, people who use the park. And those complaints have been going to the Citadel. What the Citadel will do is they will cut the side closest to the entrance of the park, okay, and leave the rest of the overgrowth. So just in terms of streetscape alone, it does not look like something that the city of Charleston, okay, should be tolerating. We need to reconnect College Park, and I'm not saying in terms of using, but reconnect College Park. It's beautiful. The upkeep of the baseball game is beautiful. Yeah, we've got a problem with the bleachers, but I think that we would be doing a great service if we negotiate with the Citadel to do the same kind of landscaping that we have on the south side of Cleveland, to do the same thing on the north side of Cleveland, so that we can have a magnificent entrance to one of the best parks that we have in the city. Right now, if anybody gets a chance, just go to Rutledge and Cleveland, and it looks horrible. And folks who live on Rutledge across the street from the wall, okay, continually complain about the upkeep of that green space along Rutledge Avenue. So somehow, okay, we need to talk to the commandant or whoever, because I'm sure he doesn't know.
Yeah. And we've had conversations, and I think he will be open to this. And I think I look forward to meeting with the neighborhood president, and it might be good. I'm going to have a meeting with the commandant, and this could be just is a way of establishing better communication. The proverbial town and gown. It'd probably be good for you and I to perhaps meet with them too, and just continue to push this and other things. I mean, I don't want to just talk about, ultimately I'd like to do something with College Park, as you and I have discussed. So I think this is an important first step.
Right. And I agree with you there. And to go a little further, okay, we have a park house on Hampton Park that termites are having a great time with. It's a beautiful building, okay? And as we talk about expending monies for our parks, I think that we need to start talking about that historical building that we're literally allowing to just.
Are you talking about the old stables?
Not yet. That's next. Okay. The park house is next to the stable. Okay. It's the white,
I know what you're talking about.
white building. Okay. Talking about the stables. Okay. We were in partnership with the Conservancy, as you may know, to create event space with the old stable. I'm not sure what happened to that discussion. I know they changed leadership.
Let me give you an update there. I've met with them maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and and just for clarity, the partnership was they leased it from us for a nominal amount, but it was something. And then they don't have the capacity to do it, and so they said, we want to give you, terminate the lease, or the lease was expiring and they weren't going to renew. So that's where we are. I believe, and I can, Amy, you might know if we've actually gotten it back or not, but we've had a few city departments, police department being one, with that has expressed some interest in it.
But the horse is back.
Well, then we have to maintain the horse. Like, we have to have people that, we have talked about that, but it's a little bit bigger conversation. Right now, they're being taken care of by third parties, and they just don't have the capacity right now, but we could grow into that.
Okay, just keep me into the discussions, because the residents
Absolutely.
are definitely asking about things that
I need to get an update on it anyway. So you make a good point. I appreciate that.
Okay, because that is the entrance to the park, and right now it looks horrible with the lack of upkeep of the entrance and that little historical park house. That's probably going to cost us $1 million to rehab it at this point. Okay. Yes. So those are my issues, and I just like to definitely make sure that you're prepared for the Long Barrow discussion.
Appreciate that.
Okay, and I'd like to tell our corporation counsel, thank you for what you're doing on Gordon Street. The neighbors are unbelievably happy at this point. Okay, it's coming down. I was there yesterday. I know this isn't a park issue, but I just wanted to let you know everybody's happy, Mayor, with what we're doing. Okay.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Excuse me, Councilmember Parker.
Yes, ma'am.
I think y'all need to take a vote on item 5B, amending the ordinance.
Sure. Do I have a motion on item 5B, the ordinance?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. It'll come again before us tonight at City Council. All right, thank you everyone for bringing those items to committee. Councilmember Shealy, if there's anything we need to circle back on West Ashley Park, hopefully we can talk to Parks about getting that up, the technology on that gate, and then they're working on the lighting. But if there's anything else, I just wanted to give you a minute if there was anything else.
No, I'm good. I appreciate it though. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And just real quick, y'all, miscellaneous, the Grace Triangle Community Association is going to have a park cleanup at Stephen Washington Park. I just wanted to put that out there. We're really doing some great things here in the communities, all coming together, town, county, everyone on James Island, to just see some improvements at this park. We already had one cleanup, and they are having another one Saturday, July 7th from 9 to 12. So share that with any groups or folks you think might want to come and help. And if there's nothing else.
I think that's the 27th, isn't it, Councilmember Parker?
Yes, ma'am. July 27th from 9 to 12. And that is 1148 Fort Johnson Road here on James Island. So that is, I just want to.
Madam Chair, I had just one
Yes.
last thing. I think that's a great opportunity for us to get that park building back. If Mr. Mayor is still listening, maybe Councilman Greg may be gone, but I think a great opportunity for the city to get it back. And then the second thing is, did you get the sewage situation? What was the answer to that out of, at the park out by Westchester.
No.
Thomas,
Thomas
so it's
Johnson.
still, it hadn't been fixed. Thomas Johnson, it had not been fixed yet. Okay,
I
thank you.
have not heard of any recent issues, but I haven't heard anything on the solution, so we don't have issues in the future.
So let me be the bearer of both good and bad news. We had a fix, and it was working well. And Jason had been working with his folks, and I'm not trying to overstep, but it has been working well. As of today at 11:45, we had a problem in the boys' room. The plumbers immediately responded, and they've got the lines cleared. They're going to come back out and do some work tomorrow. So we have called in a portalette to be delivered just so we have something clean for patrons to use. But from our last meeting until today at 11:45, we'd had complete success. And right now we're working back towards that again.
Okay.
Good. I'll check with Jason because I'm wondering if there was an issue where CPW could help out. That's all.
Councilmember Waring, I'm pretty sure it ended up being an issue that he was able to resolve with those own staff having to do just with city issues. So I think it was an internal city issue that he was working on.
Good deal.
So it's
Okay.
not, it wasn't a PSD. Okay. Yeah. I never got any follow-up. I'm not sure, Mayor, if you did on, we were going to reach out to PSD and because somebody about the curve and the pipe. I didn't hear anything. And so maybe we can just follow up with Jason about that.
Yeah, I've not heard anything. Let me check on that. And I unfortunately got to drop, guys. I've got, we're all backed up.
We're all done. Thank you, everyone. I know I feel
Thanks,
happy.
guys.
Thanks, everyone. And I'll move to adjourn. See everyone tonight.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya. Thanks all.